Hi everyone, thank you for joining me, and today I want to talk about how you actually go about doing some really easy and seamless configuration in your Python applications, specifically if you are going to be deploying those applications to the Google Cloud Platform. Now, I've seen people in the past write some custom code when they're pulling things out of Cloud Secret Manager. It's what we're going to focus on today. And actually what you want to do is you want the ability to configure your application via environment variables when you're developing locally, or a .env file, and then also seamlessly use Cloud Secret Manager when you deploy to Google Cloud. Now, in order to do that, I use Pydantic settings management. And how I do that is I create a new source, which we will be looking at today and how to do that. And that source connects to Google Secret Manager. So we can test that out. I can show you what that would look like. And you can go to the repository that's linked down in the description here, take that code, use it, and make with it whatever you would like to. Hopefully this gives you a couple of ideas. So let's have a look at the code. I've got a simple folder here that I've just got an app.py, which is the main entry point into the application. You'll see that I'm getting my configurations or my settings from a config module. We'll have a look at that shortly. And all that the application does is it actually prints out something called my secret value off of that settings instance that I create. So over to config, and this is where we'll see all of the work that's being done to connect the application to Google Cloud Secret Manager. And this is all coming from Pydantic. So we'll dive into Pydantic in a little bit. Let's actually run the application and see what happens. The application should, if a .env file is available, which this is, you can see here we've got a .env file, that should be picked up. If an environment variable is set, the environment variable will take precedence. We'll talk about the order of these things in a bit. And then if none of those things are available, you should be able to get the my secret value from Google Cloud Secret Manager. And just to show that this has been configured, let's open up Cloud Secret Manager. So you can see here we go. I've got a secret in a project called my secret value, and the actual secret saved into it is just called Google Cloud Secret. Right, so let's have a run at the application and see what happens. So first up, it's getting the secret from the environment, it's getting the secret from the .env file. If we change that, let's just rename it to .envx, and we run the application again. We are now going to get that from Google Cloud Secret Manager because we've not got any environment variables set. But if we set that and run the application again, we now get that from the environment variable. So how does this actually work? Well, let's dive into that config module and talk a bit about it. So here we are in the config module, and the bit of additional work outside of the norm of using Pydantic base settings is defining your own Pydantic base settings source. And this is where I've created the very long named Google Secret Manager config settings source. So it's been a bit verbose there, but I thought I'd be explicit. And this is the code that actually does all of the work to connect to Google Secret Manager. The entry point for it is the call method on it, and it uses the application default credential workflow. So that's stuff that you need to set up on your machine, and it will go out and get the credentials for the account you've logged in for your application default credentials, the project that's been set, and then pass that over to the secret manager so that we can create a client to go and connect to Google Secret Manager. It does a bit of work then, so it actually loops through all of the properties on the settings class. We'll have a look at that in a moment. And then for each one of those field names or those property names on the settings class, it will go and try and get them from Google Cloud Secret Manager. And we do a bit of error handling here to make sure that when you have a not found error that gets raised by the Secret Manager client, or a permissions denied error, that it doesn't actually raise the exception and break your application, because we don't expect you to always have Google Secret Manager set up and have values in there. You might be deving locally for a long time, and then only when you deploy to production, you actually need to go against Secret Manager, or when you go to the cloud for one of your other environments. So that's where we just log it with the logger as a debug message, so that if you do want to have a look at what's going on when things aren't working out, you can simply set your logging or your log level environment variable to be to debug and get all of that debug information. You can see exactly what's going on. So the settings class is where we actually define what it is we actually want to get from our environments. So we've got the my secrets value here. It will go off and look for something called my secret value in your .env file, your environment variables, and then your Google Cloud Secret Manager. And the way that that works is you extend the settings customize sources method of the base settings class that we're subclassing here, and you specify which of these classes it returns, and the order in which it returns it is important, because first it will go and use things that come from your initialization settings. Then if there's environment variables set, it would use those. After that, if there are any .env files, it will use what it finds in your .env file, and then it will use file secrets, and lastly it's going to use my Google Secret Manager source here. So if I move that up, it changes the precedence that source takes over the others. So remember, earlier on we ran the application first and we ended up with the .env file being picked up, and once we created an environment variable, it picked up the environment variable and gave that to us. Even it would do that even over a .env file. And this is how you set the order of what needs to be returned. So this is the short of it, and you can go and have a look. I'll link to the Pydantic base settings and settings management webpage in the description. So go and have a look and read through it. It's really good stuff, and it makes it very easy for you to work with Pydantic and with settings management for your application. So when we are deploying this to something like Cloud Run Jobs, you'll know that it will run under the context of the service account and the project that it's in. So if we don't set anything, no environment variables or anything, it will go and look for what it can find in Google Secret Manager. And we'll have a look at that now and see what it would look like when you deploy. So this is how you can go and do very seamless deployments from your local dev environment where you want to use something a little bit faster like .env file, and then deploy that with confidence into the cloud and be sure that it's actually going to go off and configure itself without you needing to write custom code that deals with specific scenarios of checking where it's actually running to go and get its settings and configurations. So let's have a look at Cloud Run next to show that the app is doing what we expect it to do. Here we are back in Google Cloud Console, where we were previously looking at the value of that secret. So let's go to Cloud Run and look at what I've deployed earlier. So we've got a job that I've created off of a Docker image that I pushed up to Artifact Registry. And let's just have a quick look at the settings on it. So you'll see that this is the stock standard stuff that's been set here. We've got no environment variables, so none of that's been set. The only difference is that it's currently running under a service account that I've called test, and that service account has got access to the secret manager. So when we run this, we expect to see that it actually pulls the information that we want, our configuration, from Google Cloud Secret Manager. So let's have a look at the logs. Right, so it's completed. Let's dig into the logs and see what we find in there. And as you can see, my secret value has been set to Google Cloud Secret, which is the value that we've got inside Cloud Secret Manager. So it's behaving exactly as we expect, and we are easily able to move between deving locally using .env files or environment variables to deploying to the cloud and using Google Cloud Secret Manager to configure our application. I hope this has been useful to you. I hope that it gives you a couple of ideas. I'll link to all of the resources in the description below, and feel free to take the repository that I've created, take the code, modify it, use it for yourself, and enjoy being able to develop in a bit of a easier fashion between your local environment and your cloud environment when you're using Google Secret Manager for your production and for your cloud workloads. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching.